At the press conference, Minister of Emergency Preparedness Harjit Sajjan says the government is bracing for another challenging wildfire season.
We know that there are several concerning trends. Southern Alberta, British Columbia, and Southern Ontario are facing extreme drought conditions, and we are expecting above normal temperatures all across the country, which is actually leading to early snowmelts. All these elements create conditions for a wildfire season like the last.
Last year, fires raged from coast to coast, leading to the evacuations of First Nations communities in British Columbia, Alberta, and the Northwest Territories. As Minister of Indigenous Services Patty Haidu points out, many First Nations communities are particularly vulnerable to wildfires.
80% of First Nations communities face risks related to wildfires. 80%. The colonial process of moving Indigenous peoples to remote lands through relocation and dislocation means that many communities are in extremely isolated areas.
This is why the government is taking extra steps to prepare for this wildfire season. This includes $166 million in the upcoming budget to help First Nations plan, prepare, and respond to wildfires. Haidu also says the government is advancing payments to First Nations communities so they are not left scrambling for compensation after incurring firefighting costs.
These kinds of things for First Nations that have the capacity to pay up front are irritants, but there are many First Nations that just don't have that fiscal capacity to be able to rent equipment or organize a volunteer crew or have rapid evacuations if necessary.
Ottawa is also seeking input from First Nations on best practices in combating wildfires through an Indigenous Emergency Management Working Group that met for the first time earlier this year.
So what we're doing right now is to making sure that not only that there's progress, but they're actually part of that conversation and working with the leadership of the Indigenous groups across the country, having regular meetings to making sure, just as we would do with any provincial territorial meeting, is how are we preparing, what is the prevention, how are we doing the recovery.
Government officials say because of climate change, we can expect to see more severe wildfire seasons for years to come. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.